a man named Michael Behe, a biochemist, was looking at how do the parts of all of our bodies and all organisms and living things, how do they work, how do they come together? And he came up with the example of a mouse trap. You see, a mouse trap, in order to work, has to have multiple parts, and they're totally dissimilar, totally unrelated, and each part is pretty much worthless. I mean, there's a little rod right here on this mouse trap. There's a what's called the hammer. It's just a U-shaped piece of metal, a spring attached to it, a little catch that holds the catch down, and then a platform it's all attached to. There's actually 5 parts. Now, if any part is missing, the mousetrap won't work.
It won't do what it's designed to do.
It won't act as a mousetrap. It won't catch a mouse if any one part is missing. Each part is specifically designed by intelligence to perform a function, and they all have to be in exactly the right position.
And all at the same time, right? You couldn't have one part for a while and then another part for a while, or
if
3 parts for a while.
If you had the spring and the catch and the platform, but no hold down bait hook and no wire, it would never catch a mouse. It would be worthless. See, evolution requires that if something's going to slowly transform into something else, each step along the way has to
work,
be
right?
useful, or at least not detrimental. And if the body's making something that's useless, it's using up energy that could be used for a functional purpose. So it just doesn't work. It would not advance forward.
Why would the body pass along a trait that's just slowing the creature down? It's not functioning yet because it's not all there yet.
You know, the 2 big issues as a scientist I have with evolution is that it simply does not work to explain the advancement of life into higher complexity. It doesn't explain how parts could come together to form a working whole. Now, I love to do experiments. All my life, I have experimented with chemicals and processes in order to develop better ways to do things, new products, new inventions. That's what led to the 17 patents I developed over the years while I worked for Dow. So let's do an experiment. Let's just test this concept of evolution in very simple terms. I have what here I call the magic can of evolution. It has a monkey on one side. It has a man on the other. Supposedly, some sort of an ape-like creature turned into a human being, because you see, either people were made as people, fully functional, or something turned into us. There's no other option. If you eliminate the idea people were made as people, then evolution has to be true. It's the only option left. But it doesn't mean it's true. It just means, have you looked at both possibilities? To turn an ape-like creature into a human being, you got to add lots of parts and functions and features. Well, let's simplify it. Let's just dump out what's in the can. And it turns out, in my can, I had a pen. Now, a pen is like a little working machine with lots of parts. It has a tip, and we're just going to take the parts apart, okay, and put it in the can. It has a spring. We're going to pull that off the pen and throw it in the can. An ink cartridge. That's 3 parts. It's got a tube to hold the whole thing together. There's 4 parts. A little clicker mechanism to make it click is 5 parts, and a clip is 6 parts.
Okay.
Now,
a lot less than a human being or an ape.
Oh my goodness. But let's just look at the parts of this little simple machine. Now, they're all here. Now, the first thing to note, you never find these parts existing anywhere naturally. You can't just go to a beach or to Mars or to the moon or somewhere and find the parts of a pen. They're designed by intelligence to form a functioning whole.
That's right. Nobody would walk on the beach, see a little spring, and say, oh, this just made itself. Yeah. You would know a human being dropped that spring.
But just ignore all that and say, well, suppose the parts did form, like the parts of life somehow could have formed. We don't see it happening, but just suppose it did. We have all the parts.
So we're giving a big head start here.
We are. We are. All the advantages to somehow believe evolution could be true, because all the parts are here. An open thermodynamic system means energy can pass in and out. They say the Earth is an open system because heat and light from the sun could come here, therefore it could cause life to form and advance. Well, that's like the pen. I'm going to add energy. I'll shake it. I'll spin it. I'll throw it. I'll toss it.
These are random changes in forces.
Do you think that'll turn it back into a pen?
I don't think so.
Well, how about time? How about if I shook this can for the next million? It's going to be a really long program.
I think we only have like 5 minutes in the program, so.
No, you see, time isn't the answer either. But the Big Bang was an explosion. There was an experiment in all the biology books called Miller's experiment, where explosive energy was added to form little biological chemicals called amino acids. So the students are led to believe that energy can form things to come together. So I'm adding a firecracker.
Oh boy.
A lot of energy. We're going to add a big, powerful punch of energy.
This is the first on
to our
program,
can of evolution.
explosions.
So here we go. All right, so we added a whole bunch of energy.
Wow.
If you're going to do an experiment, you got to see what's the result. You click, oh my goodness. I hate it when this happens, but well, there's the pin. Okay. Now, you laughed. Okay. I do this into schools, auditoriums filled with young minds thinking about what is the truth. Same response. Eruption of laughter because it's absurd. Everybody knows it is absurd that just random energy could cause parts to form a functioning whole.
That's right.
You see, I had 2 pins in the can. I had one hidden. It's deception. Evolution is like that. The word is used to mean there's change within an animal. That's true. There's variety within animals. That's true. But the same word is then used to mean life could have formed itself. One life could add parts to become a more advanced form of life. And yet, every experiment ever done shows this couldn't happen.
It's something that you can sort of express with words, and maybe it sounds like when you talk about, immense amounts of time and things like energy and matter, and all the ingredients being there, and yet when you try to take that, right, take those words and put them into an experiment where you could actually try to process it, it's absurd.
It doesn't. Full circle from the beginning of the program. God wants us to know He exists. He wants us to know we have a Creator. And it's by taking dominion, by studying creation, we can know this. See, the final little verse that we want to look at, all things were created. Everything in heaven, everything on earth, everything visible, invisible, even very thrones of power of mankind, dominions, principalities, all power, everything was created by Him, by God, and for Him. It couldn't be more clear. And when we study creation, that's exactly what we see. It all had to have been created.